What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to another installment of Huskers Live. We are here to break down the Michigan State game, preview Maryland, and talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's been going on this week in terms of. I mean, there's a few numbers coming out. Brian, me and Brian just talked about a number that we're going to break down for you on the show. It's very interesting. Puts our offensive line in perspective, and we're going to ask y'all the question as well as we go through the show. So y'all stay tuned for that when we talk about that. But first things first, Brian, how you doing, man?
I am doing good. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you feeling off the Michigan State win? How are you feeling about everything so far?
Feel good. I feel like getting away from the stadium, Memorial Stadium, getting away from your home field is going to be good for the team. Kind of bonding time. I think it was Elijah Judy or somebody was talking about that today about getting away from your stadium on the road. Kind of helps with bonding and kind of being close knit with your group. They're going out a day early, so I think it is well needed to get away from the confines of Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, and some players thrive in that environment, so it'd be nice to see what the team looks like in a road game. So we got some tough road games on the schedule coming up, so we get an idea of what we look like in a different environment. So it will be nice to see a change. It's not normal that not often that you say it'd be nice to get away from home, but the way the schedule's worked out, it's going to be nice to just see this team kind of show up and perform on the road for sure against a pretty tough conference opponent at that too. So a team that is sneaky good. So I guess we can just kind of start right there with Maryland. First off, Ron T getting in here first. First and second comment, clowns, while y'all slacking. The other Dave in here. What's going on the other Dave, man? Our tackle's great, a lot better in PFF than we would have thought. We're gonna talk through that a little bit. I'm very worried about this weekend's game being it's our first true road game. Hopefully we can quell some concerns there. But Nebraska opened as, I believe, a 6.5 point favorite in this one, which I thought we would. I thought we would be a favorite. I didn't know if we would be a touchdown or what, but it's Maryland collapsing, coming off of a collapse, and so
that was
maybe Vegas is kind of thinking, oh, Maryland is doing the Maryland usual and kind of starting their collapse after a week, maybe a little early than week 5 this year, but are they a bit of a I don't know, man. Are they a little bit of a flash in the pan to start the season or a legitimate test?
Man, I feel like this happens with Maryland fairly frequently is they always start relatively hot and then they just slowly kind of fade back to obscurity. Now, for what it's worth, I'm looking here on FanDuel. They've got Nebraska at -6.5, although Vegas Insider has Nebraska at -1.5. So there is a little bit of debate back and forth, at least from those two odds makers about this game. But yeah, that collapse was pretty epic. I mean, they were up 20-0, if I'm not mistaken, going into the fourth quarter.
Let me break that down just a little bit. So for those that didn't see the Maryland game, Maryland was up 20-0 kind of early third quarter, looked well in control of that game against a good Washington team. So, but Washington, kind of just, they didn't panic. They really just kind of pushed, and just started methodically putting drives together and started getting, stops when they needed them. And ultimately, you look up at the scoreboard, next thing you know, Washington's right back in the game, and then they pull it off by 24-20, I think was the final. But they didn't really force a lot of turnover. Washington didn't. It wasn't like they came out and forced some turnovers that turned the game. It was just like they just started to execute well. And then Maryland's offense just kind of locked up, and once they lost their momentum, it was like they couldn't find the answers. There was a penalty in the game that kind of shifted momentum a little bit. But a lot of bad coaching in that game that I've seen from some of the breakdowns that I've read about this game. Because, and reading some of the game, they were talking about, I'm trying to remember exactly, but they were declining some kind of penalty extension, but in the overall play calling that they went with late in the game. So some coaching mishaps, according to the Maryland fan base in that one. So just a complete meltdown by Maryland. So it's one of those things on Nebraska, if they can just make sure that they're on and execute, it looks like, Maryland is a team that they can flash at times, but they're going to have their lulls like that. And this is a game where just I think Nebraska, if they can put together a good 4-quarter performance, come out with a balanced attack, because Maryland is going to be trying to pass the ball. They're going to try to be throwing the ball a lot, which I think will help. A really good pass, so our strength matches up well with their strength offensively. But yeah, so yeah, big comeback in that one. So I'm overall, I just think this is one of those games where Nebraska is going to have to worry about how they finish, and they're going to have to close. And Maryland showed that they couldn't. So you have one team that is learning how to win, and you have another team that is trying to figure out. It seems like they're still kind of figuring out what team they are. If I had to define Maryland, they're a young team with a lot of upside, but just who do they turn to when things don't go their way? And right now, I don't feel like they have that. And I feel like Nebraska has a couple of those players that are stepping up.
Yeah, they have a really good quarterback too. What's his name? Is it Malik? What's his name?
Oh, yeah. Hold on.
I'm drawing a blank on his name, but actually, I can find it right here.
I have their roster all in my notes here.
Yeah, Malik Washington.
I'm going to break down their receivers too in a second. So,
but he's a true freshman at the end of the day, and he's going to have his ebbs and flows just like every freshman that exists in college football, generally speaking, except for like Jeremiah Smith. But they had 274 yards of offense last week, and only 55 or so of that was on the ground. So they were airing it out. They had let me pull it up here. 219 through the air, 55 through the ground, 4 yards per play.
That's what I was
the key here is going to be getting pressure. And I think you saw that start to click a little bit with Nebraska's defensive line this past weekend, where Williams-Nwaneri, I think, led the conference in pressures for the single game, which was 6. Cam Lenhart got a sack. Let's see who else. I think Williams-Nwaneri actually had a half sack, that one with Javen Wright where he hurdled the running back. And then Elijah Judy also had a sack. So you're starting to see some development from this defensive line as the years progress. And our big concern was size the whole year. But now if you can utilize their speed to your advantage and have great technique, and then use your linebackers blitzing packages like they did with Javen Wright. And Deshaun McCullough pretty much was just a stand-up edge the entire game. So he was more of a true pass rusher as opposed to mix and matching with coverages and whatnot. So they're starting to get some things going on with that defense. There's a lot of new pieces that John Butler's trying to figure out. And it's not a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that, as the year goes, you're going to get better. That's just, that goes for every program pretty much, except for anything led by Scott Frost.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things too is that's going to be important in this game is the mid-game adjustments, because Washington just kind of changed up their defensive approach and changed up how they attacked, and they couldn't figure that out. Over the course of those last 2 quarters, they could not figure it out. So this is just a week where we're going to have to really adapt to what they're doing. And again, I think the stickiness of our defensive backfield right now, I think it's going to give us a lot of flexibility, because when you have a defensive backfield that you can mix in man, zone, and trust those guys to be able to still come up and make plays on the football and be able to come downhill and, attack, that opens up a lot of what you can do, especially coming after and changing things up and mixing things up on a young quarterback. He can. This kid is going to throw it a lot more than Bryce Underwood did. They're not going to run it like Michigan did. So
they're going to air it out like crazy.
He passed almost 50 times. I don't remember the exact number, but it was in the
49.
Okay, so 40. So one pass away from 50. Yeah.
So, but it was only 219 yards, so it tells me there's a lot of dinking and dunking.
Yeah, very much so. They're going to be trying to get a lot of RPO rhythm throws for him. Yeah, and they'll eventually try to open it up over the top. But Malik Washington, we're going to have to force him to make mistakes. 2 interceptions on the season, but I think again, we got an experienced defensive backs coach and an experienced defensive backfield. Not only that, a very talented young defensive backfield. And I think they're going to make it nightmarish for him. And I think the more that they get him thinking, the more our defensive line is going to be able to get home. We're going to get pressures and really start to kind of take this game over a little bit, so to speak, late in the game. And my prediction, that's how it's going to go. But I think it's going to start by early just investing in the pre-snap, getting Malik Washington a bunch of different fronts to look at, and then when that second half comes and they're going to try to adjust, completely have a separate approach to combat and throw something new at him. And then just keep him constantly guessing throughout that game so they can never find that rhythm. I mean, for what it's worth, his QBR is 54.8, 78th in college football. Now, what a QBR is essentially, a QBR is a rating that takes like down distance and everything. Basically, the situation and the result. Did you get a first down? You get more on a 3rd and 2. Did you run for a first down? You're going to get a higher QBR versus, if you run for 3 yards on a 3rd and 10. Obviously you get a first down on one, the other one you don't. So that leads to a high QBR. So when it comes to making the plays that need to be made, he's pretty average. When it comes to the numbers, he can light up the scoreboard a little bit. But yeah, he's averaging 5.8, I think it's 6.9 per throw, but had the lowest of the season that game against Washington at 4.5 yards per throw. So
yeah, he's going to be a guy they're going to air it out 30 plus times at minimum. I just did a quick look at their previous games. The lowest amount he's thrown in a single game was 22, and that was against Townsend. Every other game it's been 35 plus. He's completing 60% of his passes, which is pretty solid, but I don't think they've played a bunch of really good teams outside of Washington, who's pretty decent, but Wisconsin is obviously down. Townsend sucks. Northern Illinois sucks. Florida Atlantic sucks. So they haven't really played anybody.
Yeah.
That's where Nebraska has the advantage, where they're a little bit more tested against Cincinnati. They're tested against Michigan. Michigan State pushed them in a way that I don't think we expected to, where we saw some resolve in that fourth quarter, end of the third quarter. And one thing, Nebraska, like you said, sticky coverage, very senior-laden secondary, and a very complex, unique coverage scheme where they can do a lot of different things that they have not seen. I can guarantee you that.
And a pass rush that is playing at a high level, some edge rushers that are playing at a high level right now. We're getting a lot of pressure.
I feel like we get a lot of pressures. We just don't get a lot of sacks.
We got to contain. Well, we are going against a lot of mobile quarterbacks. It is much harder to get sacks against mobile quarterbacks because a lot of times you are trying to contain. The fact that just we need to contain more a little bit. But this Malik's 6'5", 230. He's gonna be standing in the pocket.
Big dude.
Rashawn, great day, fellas. What's going on, Rashawn? I appreciate you hopping in here. Justin, go Big Red. Maryland will push close. 500 yards on offense, 2 picks guaranteed on rail, at least 5 sacks. Embarrassing bloodbath. Yeah,
Craig's always super negative.
Words are hard. Hi, kids. What's up, Pitts Night? Appreciate you hopping in here. Clearly, I haven't paid much attention to our defense. Exactly. Let Javen Wright float. Turn him loose. Yes. Let him play as a free dog.
Yep, that's what they're doing with him and Desan a little bit more. Just kind of float around. That's what they did in the second half, too.
They do well. Play
Javen, I believe, or Desan. They let him kind of QB spy and then blitz when they wanted to. They kind of had a play for everybody else but them.
It's either that or, it was probably that. I think I know play you're talking about specifically. So that was, not convinced Maryland offense is that legit. Look at the opponents he played. Yes. He passes 50 times. There's our 5 sacks and 2 picks, Craig the hater. There, Seth ain't worried about it. Putting too many points against our D secondary. Can we score, though, consistently? Let's talk.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Maryland averages 349 yards a game.
349
yards total per game. That's what they average.
That's not crazy.
And that's against FAU, Northern Illinois, Townsend, who they should have had 600 yards against all 3 of those if they were legit, if not 500, on a low end.
Yeah.
To skew it a little bit.
Yeah. ESPN's matchup predictor, by the way, got a 66.7%.
Nice.
Let's talk O-line. Pull up that stat.
Great call. That's what I'm doing right now, actually. You want me to share my screen or do you just want to?
Go ahead.
Okay. I sent it to you in a DM. Let me go to that real quick.
Oh shoot, my fault.
Oh,
I'm terrible at checking my DMs.
Okay,
I never check them.
Share my screen.
If you ever in an emergency, don't hit me up on X. I will hit you up a year later.
There we go. In all its glory.
All right. Best average time to pressure allowed. Now, when this stat was first read to me, I was like, what the hell does that even mean? Okay, so let me break it down because I looked it up. And so what it is, time to pressure, how long a QB stays clean before the defense forces pressure. It doesn't measure how often pressure happens. Okay, that is one key to note. It's just how long it takes to get there. I think that's an important distinction too. But Nebraska's offensive line graded up pretty well on PFF. And for those that don't know how PFF grades, essentially it's individual line grades based on, did you win your block? Did you lose your block? Did it result in a positive play? Did it result in a negative play? Sorry. Again, down in distance and stuff like that factor. But more often than not, it's a +2, -2 system, just like all of their other grading, essentially. And so it is showing that in a lot of cases. Now, this poses the question for us, and we'll ask this to y'all as well. What does that stat mean to you, Brian? Go ahead and just kind of give me your rundown. What does that stat kind of tell you right now?
Yeah, so this kind of like what I was saying before we jumped on was, I feel like between this stat, just talking with some people, reading a lot, I feel like Nebraska's line isn't as bad as we're probably leading out to be. I mean, there's definitely room for improvement, but a lot of it, I think, is not hitting a receiver when they're open. A lot of it's holding on to the ball too long. So that's part of it. But this tells you Nebraska they're giving Dylan time.
Yeah.
4 seconds to throw is insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's an insanely long time. Dylan's time to throw when not pressured is like 2.3 seconds. When pressured is like 3.85 or something like that. So that's why this is confusing to me in a way, because the average of no pressure versus pressure, I wish this was more in depth, but it makes me think that maybe it's not as bad as what we're thinking. We gave up 5 sacks last week. One of them was a bad snap. We know that.
Yeah.
I believe one other one, Dylan held onto the ball too long and admitted such.
Yeah.
And then another one, if I'm not mistaken, it technically did not fall by grades, like PFF grades. It did not fall on the offensive line. I don't know how they can deem that, but taking that into account, that would essentially put 2 sacks allowed by the offensive line. 3 were at the fault of the quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a few things, and like most things, like I mentioned before, this is any of these numbers come with a lot of nuance. Style matters, system matters. But play action RPOs, those slow down pass rushes, and we do a lot of those. Another thing too, Dylan is a quarterback that does go through his progressions a little bit, and so he does like to try to extend plays with his feet. But this does show, to an extent, that and here's my thing about the line, because when thinking about thinking back to the Michigan State game last week, for me, it's like I feel like maybe it's more so like when it rains, it pours with the offensive line. And what I mean by that is essentially what really pushed us to really hate the offensive line this past week was that sequence of events that happened that got us to 4th and 42, right? And there was already kind of a mounting frustration leading up to that moment at the fact the offense could not really string together anything, right? And so in one hand, maybe like our memory of what happened of the offensive line just on pure emotion and frustration was like the O-line right now.
100%.
Because in that moment, in that instance, when we were at our worst, in our biggest frustration point, like it was on the O-line right there. And when it rained, it poured, because those were some bad possessions. Now, over the course of a 4-quarter game, maybe we're letting the emotion kind of skew a little bit,
I remember, like, I take notes during the game on my phone. I'll be like, first half offense, defense, special teams, and kind of a synopsis after each possession. And at that moment, when that possession happened, my note was O-line fucking sucks. But like you said, over the grand scheme of the game.
Yeah, I don't tweet negative stuff. Like I try my best to not. And I said the meanest thing I've said all season about any unit on this team is on Twitter is I said I'm about to crash out about this offensive line when that happened. And like so I think that stuck out of my head, just that frustrating moment and the amount of like everything just coming to a head at that moment. And I think that was our recollection. But then that doesn't account for them what they did later on in that game. And so to give myself a little bit of accountability, I probably was a little bit too hard on the offensive line as well because I let emotion cloud my judgment a little bit. But that's why we have the show. We step back and we take a look at it. And that's why I liked you giving me the stat because it made me think through it. Because to anybody listening, like he dropped this stat a minute before the show started. And I was like, hold on, I'm going to look up what this stat means and we're going to talk through it on the show. So this is something that just kind of like we wanted to kind of talk through with y'all. But yeah, I'm curious to hear the chat's take on that because me and you have been Donovan Raiola apologists for a long time.
Oh yeah. I think I called for his firing on Saturday, which I'm like, that's why I think we balance each other out a little bit because after a game, I am very high or I'm very low. Yeah. And then my demeanor between Saturday and Tuesday is like a completely different script because I'm riding high on emotion. I'm like, I just got out of the fight and I'm pissed or we just beat Michigan if we did. Like, I would have ignored all the issues we had that game. But this is why I like to rewatch games too. Like after the fact, because that gives me more perspective. And when I call for something stupid like what I did on Saturday, I can come back and revisit and be like, you know what? I'm an idiot.
And it's not necessarily stupid. It's just the fact of the matter of like, that's how these games work. When you watch on TV, we're watching play results, right? You're not watching like film where you're like, okay, what's the line? Well, or what's the, what's the defense alignment? What's the offensive alignment? How is the defensive line lined over with the offensive line? Like those little details, like that's the stuff you can go back and watch. Like you can watch each individual matchup on the offensive line as opposed to just seeing play results. The frustrating part to me is when people won't admit that like, okay, I was wrong, and or whatever they saw on TV, that is what it is, and everybody else who disagrees is wrong. And on X, I've been seeing the conversation this week, and then it's leaving out all nuance. Like it's either like, and this is the Twitter dynamic. It's like Husker fans, you're either always talking good about the team or you're on our shit list. And then the other people, you're apologists and you give credit for everything that they do, no matter what. And all you are is glass half full. And like trying to be in the middle is hell. Trying to be in the middle of this is hellacious because nobody's trying to have that middle ground. And that's what people don't understand. Like the show is, as soon as you have any critique, it's negative. It's negative. No, not everything's perfect. When Matt Rule steps up to the press conference, he doesn't go up there and say, yeah, everything looked great out there. He's like, listen, we fought hard, we battled, and we pulled out a win. And it wasn't, he'll even admit more often than not, you hear him say it wasn't pretty at times, Yep. So he can go out there and say that. But like, I think this is the problem I have when talking through stuff like this. It's like, okay, like maybe the offensive line isn't as bad. Maybe emotion got to us a little bit, and maybe Dylan Raiola is the prodigal son, but maybe we can give him a little bit of like, all right, let's just hurry up this processing, just a touch, because you do see it is interesting to me that I watched Julian Sayin play. And I feel like Julian Sayin's very, very, very quick with his decisions. And I feel like he's and again, different offensive systems, this offensive coordinator, different talent around them, all that. I understand all that. But like I feel like Dylan, as a 5-star, he should be kind of processing those things like to that level. And this is no knock on Dylan. He's an excellent quarterback, great quarterback. He is still a young quarterback. Again, I hate that I have to preface this every time, but it's just a thought that comes through my head. It's like you see some of these quarterbacks and they're just going bloop, bloop, bloop. Lighten it up, doom, 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 like for 4 quarters. And just, I want to see that for 4 quarters from Raiola.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned Julian Sain, because I was watching some of the Ohio State game, and I feel like as I was watching it, I noticed he is more willing to throw into a tight window with confidence than Dylan.
Yes.
And I was making that comparison just to myself, just watching it. Was he had a ball deep down the sideline, tight window, safety over the top, dropped it in a bucket, and I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know if Dylan makes that attempt.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he's more, I want to find the most open player who can make a play, as opposed to like, this is a tight window and I got to have it. Like, other than a few throws like that one to Dane Key against Houston Christian or whoever was on the sideline of the end zone, like that was a tight window. But I feel like Julian Sain in this case does it consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, they could be simplifying his reads, but from what I know about Ohio State quarterbacks is they put it all in their quarterbacks. That's what CJ Stroud said helped him. That's what he said when he got to the NFL. His rookie season, when he lit it up, he said the NFL was easier to him than when he was at Ohio State because of how much Ohio State put on him. And I think it's just, do you think just Dylan sometimes just puts a little too much pressure on himself to make something happen?
I think he has a lot of pressure in general. And then his own standards, his own expectations are definitely adding to that. And it is a lot to put on a kid his age. I mean, how many people are going to their dad's alma mater where their dad's name's on the stadium and the program's been in disarray for 20 years and you're kind of in charge with building this program back up and going through all this, the process of going 5-7 in year one to 7-5 your first year. And now everyone's like, it's year 3 of rule. We got to win 10, 11 games because that's what he does. And it's so much pressure on him.
And not only that, just the constant flack he gets comparison to Mahomes and all that stuff. It's just, there's a lot, and I'm not saying it's the moment's too big for him. Obviously, this team's a 4-1 team right now. But I think we're just saying, it would be nice to see that put together for 4 quarters of a game against a team like a Maryland, a good team, a pretty good team, and then that way we have confidence going against a team like a Penn State. What hurts me the most, like just as off topic, we'll go back, but is the fact that now there's a potential that we're going to play a top 10 talent level team in Penn State on the road in Happy Valley and have the potential of them being unranked when we play them.
Gosh, that's so frustrating, isn't it?
That hurts really bad.
I haven't looked at their schedule, but it is. I know I believe they play Ohio State. They play at Iowa, I think, this week at night, which is always kind of a weird situation, night games in Iowa City. And then I believe they had one more tough game. One of the guys I work with is a Penn State fan, so we were talking about it. But it's it's entirely possible that we're going into Happy Valley, and they're a 3-4 loss team. Yep. They don't look good. I mean, maybe it was the long flight across the country. I don't know, but that was pretty concerning
to lose. There's no excuse to lose to that UCLA team, man. That's crazy.
I mean, they put it on too.
Oh yeah. It was ugly. Let's see. Mackay had a good game. Kickoff recovery, 11 yards on one flipping carry. Exactly. Get that man the ball. What's up? Never mind me. Appreciate you hopping in here. Let's get down to brass tacks. Is Donovan Raiola one of the top 25 O-line coaches in the Power 2? I don't think there's. Yeah, there is over 25 teams in the Power 2.
Well, there's like 27, 28.
So yes, in that case, Donovan needs to get it together or get out. That O-line should have been embarrassed mercilessly in film study this week. And another thing I will say too, PFF grades, the reason why I specified that, because when people post PFF grades and look at our offensive line grades, well, that grades them as individuals, not units too. So again, as an offensive line is a unit. All right. So
they have those grades for anyone curious.
Yeah. I kind of sometimes I hate that PFF grades are public to everybody. I wish you had to pass some kind of college football IQ test, to be able to look at them. So you can't just screenshot them and post them to Twitter as your argument, because holy cow, there's so much that goes into those numbers. I'll count that as we talked about we talked about how dumb their quarterback rankings were because we beat Purdue and then their Purdue's quarterback was number 1 in the PFF quarterback rankings.
And a game in which they scored 0 points.
When they got shut out, but he was making the best throw available because there wasn't a lot of throws to be made. So like PFF grades again, they can be skewed. I'm not saying that to negate the offensive line. I'm admitting that I could be slightly wrong about it. Dylan had 3+ seconds to pass on 30 of 34 of his dropbacks. See,
that goes into not needing to find the perfect throw, but find the open guy and hit him and stop wasting time going through your reads. Like if dude's open, just hit him. You ain't got to go look at 2, 3, and 4 options. Just hit the dude.
Pit Snipe, you're not wrong all the time. All of us are wrong sometimes. It's a very subjective game that requires a lot of motion. At the end of the day, I don't take myself too seriously. I'm a fan at the end of the day. I am a fan who's on a YouTube channel. So I'm never going to lie and say my emotion does not skew my judgment. Sometimes it does, 100%. Spread is 5.5 in Nebraska's favor. Guess what? I think it's 6.5 now. It's been bet up. I think it opened at 5.5. I think it's been bet to 6.5. If I'm not mistaken.
Yep, we just checked 6.5 on FanDuel, and then some Vegas insiders had Nebraska 1.5, which is weird. That's a big difference.
Yeah, that's refreshing to hear. Never mind. Considered it was +3 awarded. That means the money's on Nebraska though. Awarded to the home team. We'll find out these lads travel well. Maryland is out on fall break, so they won't have much of a student section. That'll be an interesting aspect of Maryland. Show up better than UCLA. It doesn't take much to show up better than UCLA. The O-line is not as bad as we thought earlier in the season. Game by game, they'll gel together. Can you back up? Come again. Gracias. God, I hope you're right, David. One-man band shows up better than UCLA fans. Exactly. You got to pay your mud bill. You had to pawn your AR-10, bro. Why are you not? You can't pawn the big boy. Come on,
Isn't that
man.
a Texas thing? Mud.
Mud. Well, they got mud in a lot of places, but where I come from, I'm from the. You get, depending on what part of Texas in you know west, you get dirt, but I'm from the southeast corner, like the little armpit right there where Louisiana and Texas meet. That's where I'm from. The swamp lands, the bayou. That's where I'm from, and there's a lot of mud out there. So yeah,
we're in hill country.
But I would never pawn. Well, I have. Well, I have a 7.62. I have a POF Rogue, chambered in 308. So it's essentially the same thing as an AR-10. But seriously, Justin, you'd say that Donovan Morella is a top 25 O-line coach in Power 2. There's like 27 teams in Power 2. You mean Power 4?
My top 25.
You said Power 2. All right, words are important. Dylan definitely puts too much pressure on himself. Look how he handled the pocket the first 2 drives compared to how he did in that drive. I think I saw a little bit of that. A little bit of that in the Michigan game. I think I saw a little bit of just panicky. You could tell sometimes with his movements too, just the way he's not fluid a lot of times with the lower body. That's another thing too, is like sometimes he's very herky jerky and just jumping around the pocket. And that's where I feel like he struggles. When he's more fluid and just moving and flowing, keeping his eyes downfield is a lot better. When he gets herky jerky and starts like bouncing around to find an opening, I think that's where we get lost. And that's when a throw goes up that's errant or he just tries to make a last second split decision instead of just living to find another play. So yeah, there are those moments that happens. Show some skin, Brian. Mama needs rent money.
Well, I don't know where you're renting because we have a mortgage.
Who's paying for that? That's what I want to know. Who's paying for Brian? Shirtless Brian on the stream.
We need. I guarantee.
Listen, we get a lot of donos. We get more donos for you being shirtless than me. That's for damn sure. Action Sports have 6 Sharks on Nebraska at -6.5 and 0 on the Turtles. That's what I love to hear. I just think very much so. Like our strengths match up well with their. Like our strength defensively matches up well with their strength offensively, and their strength is offense, and our strength is defense. And so, to me, that is a pretty good recipe for a pretty good matchup. So while I do think Maryland is a sneaky opponent, of course, they are a live dog. I don't think they pull this off.
Yeah, I would say 6.5. I'm probably personally taking the over on that.
Yeah.
I think Nebraska's going to go out with a statement.
Yeah, so let's just kind of talk through that a little bit. So kind of what some of the keys to the game. I kind of have some keys that I put up here. Maryland's pass rush, of course, versus our protection. So, we need to just get in rhythm early, make those quick reads. like we talk about pretty regularly, is just getting those underneaths going, and that way we can kind of limit some of that pass rush. I mean, if we're starting to just kind of dink and dunk, then make them use those ends to have to get out, into pass pro, or occupy them with a route out there. Do something that keeps them from pinning their ears back. Come out running the ball. One way to negate a pass rush is run the football, because that sets up your RPOs. That's how you hold a pass rush at bay. Set up your RPOs, run the ball effectively. Maryland's secondary versus Nebraska's receiver, they're a very young secondary over there. That is one thing I will say. So
their pass defense is like 70th or worst nationally right now. And they haven't, like we talked about earlier, they haven't played a great schedule. And their pass defense is a problem. Our pass offense is a problem in a good way.
Yeah, and I think this is the game where we're going to have to see Nebraska win those one-on-ones out there from our receivers. I think our receivers need to, timing is going to be important, but I think we just need to trust our receivers to create separation on their routes and just kind of hit them and just get into some kind of momentum. And then don't let Maryland's defense just, set up for a pass. Try to just cause as much chaos as you can for them as possible, and muddy it up as much as possible, because a freshman is going to operate clean in a clean situation and a clean execution. We've seen that things can go south for them, and you don't have to first force turnovers to do it. All you have to do is break up their rhythm, And so if Nebraska can break up their rhythm, but then on top of that force turnovers, then this game could get ugly, and Nebraska could actually make a statement in this game, in my opinion. Just avoid the collapse, no mental mistakes, and make the plays that win the game. And that's what we did against Michigan State, and that's something we have confidence this team can do now. Let's put it together. Let's put it together and see it for 4 quarters. 4-quarter execution, stay alive, and finish strong. And I think Maryland might jump out, early and have a little bit of success maybe in their first couple drives, but I do think Nebraska ultimately will kind of lock in and disrupt them a little bit going in that second half. So, yeah.
This would be a game I'd love for Nebraska to try and establish a run game, some sort of a run game. Yeah. I don't think you can run it 15. Would they run it 15 times between Emmett, Mackay, and Mosey last week? I want to see that number at 25 to 27, 28. Maryland has not been tested by anybody on the ground. They've got the 24th ranked rush defense, and they've played nobody that runs the ball consistently. And Nebraska actually, while yes, in Power 4 games, their running game has been kind of a mixed bag, but last week their running backs average over 6 yards a carry. So clearly they were getting some push. This could be a game in which you establish that run game a little bit.
Pit Snipe's upset that he said I'm somehow deflecting because he said Power 2. That's what you said. That's not deflection. I don't think you understand what deflect means. Is he a top 25 in Power 4? To honestly make that assessment, I'd have to really look at the other offensive lines and how they're performing. I don't know well enough to be able to
educated enough on other teams.
I'd have to look at their offensive lines and actually watch their offensive lines play. I would, let's say not top 25. Let's say top 35. I'll go out on a limb, and I probably feel comfortable putting them top 35. Money. I know she's paying. Let's see. Oh wait, that's the Metropolitan Utilities District. Pit them flexible. Okay, they're talking about that. All right, cool. Let's see. Do you have any bold predictions? Let's see some bold predictions for this game. I want to hear it.
I am going to say Dawson Merritt has 1.5 sacks.
Okay.
And then I will make a bold prediction that Marquise Watson-Trent probably doesn't see more than 10 snaps a game for the rest of the year.
Okay. Last week I predicted we'd fake punt on Generation Red, which is the show that's on after this one, an hour after the show. But I think this week we're going to run a punt back for a touchdown. That's my bold prediction.
Gosh, I hope so. That would be insane.
I feel like we're this close. I really do.
I was looking at, I can't remember where I saw it. I wish I remembered. But Nebraska, just in like all their different KPIs for like special teams year over year, is absolutely insane how much better they've got. And I've always been a guy that's like very much like it's about the Jimmies and Joes. In this case, it was about the X's and the O's because we're doing it a lot of the same dudes, and their special teams across the board has been phenomenal.
Absolutely crazy. We don't win that game without special teams.
Mm-hmm.
We do not win that game without special teams. So now I guess I want to ask you a question too. What are some of the things that, like, if any of what's your takeaway from the running back room right now? I just want to get your thoughts on because we're going to get something we haven't seen before. Like, what are your overall thoughts on the running back room right now?
It's just talk until I see something at this point. I really could care less what they're saying. If they want to rock out with Mackay, fine. If they want it to be Mosey, fine. But they need to make a decision. And quite honestly, you can't run package plays for these guys because then it becomes so predictable.
Yep.
And just get them into the rotation throughout the flow of the game. In limited action, Isaiah has looked phenomenal at making a man miss, getting to the second level and bouncing off tacklers. And Mackay has done a good job of hitting the hole quick, getting to that second level, seeing where he wants to go, making his cut and going. And it's very minimal action, but we need to start seeing them get some more reps. I mean, you can't keep doing 18 to 25 touches a game with Emma Johnson, both through the air and on the ground. Like it's just, he's going to wear out over time.
Yeah. One more thing too, I want to mention that we forgot to bring up. We're talking about the offensive line. We have not played against a lot of tough defensive lines except Michigan. So that's another thing we got to keep in mind too. This is not going to be a super tough defensive line. But that is something to keep in mind about this O-line too as we go along with the season. So it's not exonerated completely yet. But comparatively versus Maryland, I think Nebraska is going to have to, of course, be better versus the pass rush, naturally so. Yep. And I just want to see maybe get a little bit more crazy with taking some shots occasionally. I feel like we don't take them enough. And I understand like the process that we do, but occasionally, when we sneak up and get, one of those third and shorts on the side of the field, I want to see us go take a shot on that first down. It's not I don't want to waste a down, often. But like occasionally I would just like to see that shot be taken against a team like this, especially when we're up. Especially when we're up. So 45-20 NU pick six, and Barney returns a punt for a touchdown. I like it.
That would be one hell of a game.
Pick six and a return punt for a touchdown. I can't even make a pick this week. Why not? Pitt Snipe feels like a trap game. Emmett is a closet Craig. Work. I'm okay. That means agreed. Take 50-50 pass on first down. Another thing too. Let me see. Where are my notes here? I got kind of our game. Okay, here's my game breakdown of how I think it's going to go. Okay, tight first half. Maryland, I think, comes out punching early. But I think last week this team builds momentum off of last week. They're able to kind of, I think midway through the fourth quarter, I think they're able to put this game away by a couple, let's say 17 points. Let's see. No, let's predict. All right, I'm going to go. What's the over-under?
It's a great question. Let me find it real quick.
40.5.
40.5?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like bad weather or something out there?
I don't know. Why is it so low? And the under's
40.5?
48.5, but still.
Oh.
But still.
Well, that would,
because the under's minus 115. So yeah, let's say 38. I'm going to keep predicting 38 till we get it, dude. 38 to 20. 38-17. Let's do that.
Okay.
What was yours?
I think Nebraska actually. I'm sitting here and I'm kind of putting my thoughts together
Your
as I
thinking
look through
cap
their
on?
schedule. Yeah, I look through their schedule. I look through their stats. They've scored 20 or more points. I'm sorry, 24 or more points, but only against shitty teams.
Yes.
The one good team they played, they scored 20.
Yep.
So that's my line. 20 is my line.
20.
So I'm going to go, I think I'm going to go 38-20 Nebraska.
Okay, 38-20, 38-17. So we're close. And for what it's worth, DeJuan Williams, our running back, has 59 carries total. And numbers haven't been the greatest because he had averaged 2.2 yards per carry versus Washington, 12 carries for 26 yards. So that should be a sign right there that Nebraska will be able to pin their ears back and really bring this pass rush after that.
They're averaging 3.3 yards per carry on the year.
Yeah, that's terrible. It's supposed to be raining. Game goes like this. All right, let's hear it. 7-0 Terps, 17-7 Huskers at half, 31-17 to end the third, 45-20 at the end of the fourth. I will take that too, Dave.
Who said it's supposed to be raining?
Yeah, check the weather.
Yeah, were they playing College Park?
Yeah. Hold on.
All right, here we go. Saturday, 65 or 68 for the high, 53 for the low. Kickoffs at what, 2:30?
Yeah.
Okay. Considerable cloudiness, high of 71, winds northeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. That's day. The night, mostly cloudy during the evening, a few showers developing late. Low 54, winds 5 to 10, chance of rain 30%. Yeah, 38-20 Nebraska.
Even if it rains.
A little wind
if it rains,
some clouds.
If it rains, this game gets even more in Nebraska's favor.
Yeah, because they can't run the ball to save their lives.
No, they have a quarterback.
Their top running back has 200 yards through 5 games.
Yeah, and they have a quarterback that he's a big body guy who has an arm on him. But yeah, that plays in Nebraska's favor. So if it rains, bring it.
But he's not a.
Huh? No.
He's like Aiden Child, but less talented, which I don't mean that in a negative way. I think Aiden's can be decent. I think Malik's very good for being a freshman, but he's not a guy you're worried about taking off and running. He's got 11 rushing attempts a year.
He's not as athletic. He's a thrower. Butler's going to confuse that freshman all the game. Yeah, I 100% agree. Justin says he'll go under. Perspective disruption is hard to gauge ahead of time, but I think Wright and the D-line are starting to feel their oats. Matchup does dictate that too. If it rains 31-10 Nebraska, if it doesn't rain 45-20. All right. Any closing thoughts before we head off?
No, I think we're good. One thing I want to watch in this game is the development of the red zone offense. What are they've got to do something because it ain't working. Your 5 games going in week 6, and you have a shitty red zone offense right now, to be blunt.
Which is perspective disruption. All right. Oh, you're talking about is he talking about the weather? I don't know why I said that. Yeah, to be honest, like the Doppler radar can't even tell me what's coming in an hour half the time. But it is. I appreciate that because I was curious though because that over under was low. Huskers 42, Maryland 17.
I'd take that.
There was. Oh my gosh, I was going to ask something and I completely forgot. Darn it! How about the Trevor Lawrence touchdown yesterday? Sorry, I had to do it. How'd you feel?
Chris Jones was too worried about itching his nutsack.
I didn't listen. I didn't even pile on y'all because like that one would have hurt me, and I would have been mad at anybody who was like. I just was like, I still can't believe that touchdown happened,
dude. I thought that was
game.
I think the Chiefs are kind of washed right now. That Baltimore win was not as good as we thought because they were injured all over the place. Lamar got hurt.
Yeah, we beat Baltimore. What was the final score?
It was like a lot too little.
We almost dropped 50 on them. We brought Davis Mills in the fourth quarter. That's how bad it got.
That's how bad it got. Yeah.
They
So
were.
I don't think Baltimore's very good this year.
44-10. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the Chiefs they'll be, probably 8 wins, 9 wins.
They'll be above my Texans. We'll be hanging around their mid-playoff contention, maybe make it around deep if we're lucky.
The problem with the Chiefs, and I've said this forever, is they do not invest in skill position talent like they should.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're outside of McDuffie. I don't think their DBs are very good. Their safeties are not very good. A lot of them are 7th round, 6th round, or UDFA guys that are super cheap, and they cycle them through. And when Trent McDuffie, his deal's up, they're going to let him go, just like they let L'Jarius Sneed go, just like they let Marcus Peters go, because they have so much money tied up to Mahomes at over $50 million a year. They have $30 million tied up per year to Chris Jones, who I've said this forever. He only plays when he wants to play. It drives me nuts. And Travis Kelce's getting 15, 20 million, and he's the same way. Like, if you just watch him on plays, especially in games where it's not going their way, like the Super Bowl, he will literally snap, the ball gets snapped, and he will fucking stand there.
Yeah.
And he'll just watch. It drives me nuts.
Product of Taylor Swift, you think? No, it's fine. I won't even start that conversation. One thing too, with talking about the red zone play, that's what, now I remember what I was going to ask you. Because there are strokes of genius in our red zone play calling, but then there's also horrific play calling at times.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not sure what we got to figure out about that, but I just want a lot more confidence in that between the 20. Yeah, I feel like we have done much better than previous years, but still.
They can do a lot of creative things off that formation they showed last week.
Right here.
You could run a double reverse off of that. Basically, you hand it to Dylan, who hands it to Emmett, and then you have Barney on a reverse the other way.
Yeah.
You could throw off of it.
Like the other Dave says here, he says he thinks they were set up for something for Harburg in the future on that first reverse score against Michigan State. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye out for that. Eagles look okay. They look all right. Detroit Lions all the way. Detroit's a team I can root for because, I mean, they're not in the AFC. I mean, I don't dislike them. So they're an easy team to root for me. And because Amon-Ra St. Brown was like my greatest fantasy asset that I ever traded for before he popped off.
He was so close to becoming a Husker too, which sucks.
Red zone play calling is a conundrum, but why? It shouldn't be. No, we have some great play calling at times in the red zone. We do.
Sometimes it's just execution.
Yeah, I can get behind the Lions every day. Yeah, except
I like them. I just don't think they're going to win it.
I don't either. I don't know who's going to win.
But I don't know who is right now. I think it's starting to even out more than it ever has.
I can tell you, it's not going to be the Texans.
It's not going to be the Chiefs. Hell no. Not unless they figure it out.
We have the 3rd highest turnover differential in the NFL, and we are 2-3. We start at 0-3.
That's crazy.
3rd highest, and literally top 2 defense. Yeah, it's rough.
I hope Buffalo wins it.
Offensive line. Texans is the offensive line. You hope Buffalo wins it?
Yeah, I love Josh Allen. He's such a likable human.
I agree.
Good dude, good vibes. And I, as a Chiefs fan, that's kind of a rivalry, but I'm not like a diehard like I am with Nebraska. So I can kind of root for a rival other than the Raiders.
Yeah.
And other than the Broncos.
And other than
that's it.
The other 29 teams.
Yeah.
All right, well, that'll do it for us here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into the show. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to go over to Generation Red. I'll be over there at 6 o'clock, maybe a little bit after. I got some stuff to take care of in between now and then, but that'll be in an hour over on the Generation Red channel. So if you want to slide over there, go ahead and check it out. Coach BA will be on there with myself and old Scott and Ken from Generation Red. So y'all slide over there. But, yeah, you got anything else, Brian?
That's at 6 your time, 8 Central time.
Oh, yeah.
For clarification.
Man. 8.
And we're about to hit daylight savings time in a month.
I'm going to forget. So when I don't show up for the show or when I do it late or something like that, now you know why.
That's why.
So, all right. Y'all just need to everybody else needs to get with the program that Arizona's on, and y'all need to stop doing daylight savings because I'm tired of y'all moving around me because sometimes, it's y'all 2 hours. Sometimes y'all are 3 hours. Yeah, it gets a little crazy. But, all right, that'll do it for Man, I'm about to die on stream, guys. Oh my god. No, I was sick this past week. I didn't have a voice. So any video recordings that were going to be possible this back we weren't happening because I was sick all weekend, and my plumbing went out. $726 later. So yeah, that was fun and exciting. Oh yeah. My house backed up Tuesday. Wednesday, I kind of cleared it up a little bit. Thursday, everything backed up again, and basically, I don't have a clean out at my house. There's no clean out, so I couldn't find it. So I had to call a plumber. It's apparently there's no clean out on my house. Old clean out. So I had to go to the roof and go through the roof vent to break the obstruction. I don't know. I never call people out. I usually do my own stuff, but my house was going to flood if I did my laundry. So yeah, it was an exciting last week. So donate to the channel if you want to help my plumbing bill. Greatly appreciate it. I actually bought a air gun, like a plumber air gun, dude. Congrats on the clean poop. Hey, appreciate it, man. I got a plumbing air gun, and the plumber was like, "Don't use that, dude. You're gonna blow your pipes up." I'm like, I was ready, dude. All right, guys, that'll do it for us here. That being said, we will see y'all Friday at the call-in show. And I'm gonna go ahead and go over Friday. The other Dave called in. We had a pretty good show. Brian couldn't make it, so me, Jackson, and the other Dave. The other Dave did some predictions. I'm gonna go through this prediction on the show. If he beat me, I gotta go back and look. If he beat me, he gets $50. But this Friday's call-in show, y'all have 5 predictions of 5 games, 5 big games, and good close games. Right? We're not talking like we're gonna pick some close games, some big games, and $50 goes to the winner of that. I'm gonna do that this Friday too. So y'all want to join on that? Get your 5 games ready with score predictions. And then we will rock and roll with that on Friday and go through that for some of the big games, including the Nebraska game. So, all right. With that being said, we will see y'all on Friday. And that is at
7 p.m. Central Time.
7 p.m. Central. I was like, wait, when did you say daylight savings is happening? So we will see y'all Friday at 7 p.m. Central. Peace.